I hope that you guys are already excited to create this end board, because we are only going to use Foolish Burial and we are gonna create everything from scratch. So before we jump into the combo section, I would like to talk about Foolish Burial a little bit. You just send one master from your deck to the graveyard. Obviously we are going to send Shadow Mist to the graveyard. However, in some occasions, when you have enough starters in your hand, you can consider sending cards like Malicious or Evil Hero Sinister Necrom, or let's say you want to banish an opponent's card in their graveyard, so you can send Miracle Ejector from your deck to the graveyard on purpose, or you can even send Vyon Hero Increase to your graveyard so that you can take damage on purpose and bring him to the field as continuous trap card. So there are a couple of things that you can do with this card. So without further talking, let's start by activating Foolish Burial immediately and send Shadow Mist to the graveyard. Now we are going to use Shadow Mist effect in order to search a hero card from our deck, which is going to be Miracle Ejector. Do not search Vyon or Stratos because it doesn't help much to create our end board. We are going to use those cards later. And now we are going to special summon Miracle Ejector from our hand. We always want to special summon this card because we need our normal summon for another card. Now we are going to activate this effect by adding E and Shuffle to our hand. Now we are going to activate E and Shuffle and return Miracle Ejector back to our deck. And we can special summon Stratos. Again, at this moment, we would like to special summon Stratos because we need another search from our deck to our hand. Now we are going to activate the search effect and we are going to search for Vyon Hero Vyon. Now, why do we need to search Vyon Hero Vyon? Because we want to reach Polymerization from our deck. Now we are going to normal summon him immediately and we are going to use its first effect. Now, since we already sent Shadow Mist to the graveyard, this time we are going to send something else, which is going to be Destiny Hero Malicious. And we are going to use its second effect in order to search Polymerization from our deck. Just banish Shadow Mist because we don't need her anymore. Now, since we control 2 level 4 monsters in our field, we can go for number 60 Dugares. Now, if you remember his effect, we can detach 2 materials in order to special summon Stratos from our graveyard back to the field. And this is going to help us to search from our deck one more time because his effect is not hard once per turn. Now at this moment we would like to search for Elemental Hero Neos because we want to fusion summon Flaming Man. So now we are going to activate Polymerization. By using our materials, we are going to fusion summon Flaming Man to our field. This is going to help us to search our trap card from our deck to our hand. And we are going to activate Flaming Man's second effect because we have used the normal master, which was Elemental Hero Neos, in order to special summon Sunrise. We can activate Sunrise effect in order to search Miracle Fusion from deck to our hand. Now we are going to activate Miracle Fusion, special summon Thunder Giant by banishing Flaming Man and Neos. You have to make sure that you have at least one copy of Stratos in your graveyard in order to use the secondary effect of Thunder Giant. Now we can bring Stratos back, and because it's not hard once per turn, we can make another search. Now we are going to search for Master Hero Darknest. So before we special summon him, I'm actually going to activate Malicious effect in order to special summon a copy of himself to the field. Now we can go for Link Summon, which is going to be Wonder Driver, by sending Stratos and Malicious to the graveyard, because we don't need them anymore. So now we can special summon Duskrow by banishing Vyon Hero Vyon from our graveyard. Do not banish any of these 3 cards, guys. We are going to need them later. Just banish Vyon because we are done with them. And we would like to summon right under Wonder Driver where the arrow points to. This is going to help us to set Polymerization. And we are going to resolve Duskrow's effect, which is going to help us to search a Master Hero from deck to our hand. At this moment we want to search for Fountain. Do not search for Furnace, you will see why. Now before we activate Polymerization, we can actually link summon Cross Sheep. The summoning conditions are 2 masters with different names. We don't need Dugares and Wonder Driver anymore. So now we are going to fusion summon by activating Polymerization from our field. We are going to fusion summon Contrast Hero Chaos by using Duskrow and Fountain. If you have a hero master in your hand, an extra copy of Stratos for example, you can first use Fountain's special summon effect in order to get benefit. Now we are going to summon right here where the arrow points to. Now we need to resolve this chain link. What we can summon with the help of Cross Sheep from our graveyard? we got two choices. One of them is Stratos, the other one is Aqua Dolphin. Now, if you want to check your opponent's hand, get some information about their hand and deck, and destroy a hand trap or any other monster that is troubling you, which can be Nibiru or something like that, you can special summon Aqua Dolphin from your graveyard. However, for this video specifically, I'm going to special summon Stratos because there's a card that I would like to search from my deck, which is going to surprise you. Cross Sheep has to be Chain Link 1. Otherwise, Stratos will miss its activation time and we won't be able to resolve its effect. Because the card specifically says when this card is normal or special summon. The wording doesn't start with if, so that's why Stratos effect has to resolve last. So we are gonna use Fountain's effect in order to set Mass Change from our deck. And Cross Sheep will special summon Stratos. Now we can resolve Stratos, and because its effect is not hard once per turn, we are actually going to search for Evil HERO Adusted Gold. Now this card is a new addition to our deck. What it can do is we can discard this card and then add one Dark Fusion or one card that mentions it from our deck. So we are going to use its effect by sending it to the graveyard, and we are going to search for Dark Contact. For this combo guideline and for this deck list specifically, we are only running Dark Contact and Evil HERO Adusted Gold as a Evil HERO package in our deck. Okay? We don't need other Evil HERO cards. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to activate Dark Contact, and Dark Contact has two effects, but we only need to use its fusion summoning effect, which is going to return our materials to our deck. And as an Evil HERO fusion monster, we would like to fusion summon Darkest Knight. The summoning conditions are one Fiend Master and one Warrior Master, which is super easy, and it is a beautiful effect that monsters your opponent controls lose attack equal to the total original attack of the materials used for this card's fusion summon. So that means whatever Fiend and Warrior Master we use, their combined attack points will decrease our opponent's monster's attacks. That's what it says. There are a couple of more effects, but I'm gonna talk about them later in the video. So let's just now fusion summon him. Now there are a couple of cards that you shouldn't consider returning them, such as Neos and Wingman. Do not touch these cards because we need to keep them either in our graveyard or in the bench zone for later plays. Same goes for Thunder Giant and Aqua Dolphin. Later we can use EN Shuffle to return these cards. So that's why if you want to return cards, you can consider Adusted Gold, for example, because it has a really high attack points and it's a Fiend monster. However, because we run only two Evil HERO cards in our deck, returning this card is actually a bit risky because when we draw this card back to our hand, this is going to break because we don't run any more Evil HERO cards in our deck. So instead, you can choose number 60 Dugares, for example. You can use this card in the next turn. And as a Warrior Master, you can choose, for example, Shadow Mist. You can return this card and next turn you can send this card to the graveyard and resolve its effect again. But right now I need to refresh Malicious because I need to use this effect from the graveyard. So that's why I'm going to choose these two cards and special summon him. Right now this card decreases 2000 attack points of my opponent's masters. Combining this effect with DPE when we summon him will be sufficient enough to drop our opponent's master's attack points into 0. If you think that 2000 debuff is not enough, you can return monsters that has higher attack points in order to buff your debuff, in other words. So now we are going to special summon another copy of Malicious. The reason is I want to use Malicious for Mask Change so that I can special summon Darklow from my deck, because I don't want to use on Chaos or DPE. Now we can link summon Verte Anaconda by using Stratos and Cross Sheep because we don't need them anymore, and the summoning conditions are two effect monsters. Now we have a space for DPE, and we are not planning to summon any other monsters to our field, so that's why we can reserve Verte Anaconda now. Now, you have to use Denier because we can use in the next turn. If you are not planning to use Stratos Search effect in the next turn, then you can actually send this card to the graveyard, because when you fusion summon in the next turn, you can actually special summon this card to your field, and we can summon DPU. Now I'm going to destroy Verte Anaconda because I actually want empty space in case I activate Favorite Contact in order to summon a card such as Shining Neos Wingman or a second copy of Contra Zero Chaos. Finally, we can activate EN Shuffle to return Thunder Giant and Aqua Dolphin back to our decks and draw a card, which can be anything. And then we can pass our turn. Now during the draw phase or standby phase, you can activate mask change. You can even activate in main phase. We are in the standby phase right now, so let's just special summon DPE first, and then you can activate mask change, for example, send malicious to the graveyard in order to special summon Master Hero Darknest. Now this is pretty much our end board. Compared to our previous videos, we don't have Absolute Zero, for example, or we don't have a second copy of Contrast Zero Chaos. We didn't check our opponent's head with Cross Sheep, but in exchange we have Evil HERO Darknest Knight in our field. Now I want to talk a bit about this card, because this card is actually a potential card that you should run in your deck when you have space compared to other Evil HERO fusion monsters. Now this card can attack twice, and it doesn't restrict us attacking to our opponent's monsters only. For example, unlike Trinity, this card can attack directly to our opponent. Right now it has 2200 attack points, and I can attack 2 times, which makes more than 4000. And also, since we mentioned the name of Trinity, this card has a perfect synergy with Trinity, just like DPE. In case you cannot bring DPE to your field, you can bring Darkest Knight as an alternative choice. If this card leaves the field by an opponent's card, we can actually target one Fiend or Warrior monster in our graveyard and special summon it. Now, most of our fusion monsters has to be fusion summoned and cannot be special summoned otherwise. However, if your opponent gets rid of DPE, for example, and you have Darkest Knight, and if your opponent destroys or banishes Darkest Knight, that means we can special summon DPE from our graveyard back to the field, because DPE doesn't have any restriction that says must be fusion summoned. We have other options such as Elemental Hero Stratos, for example. Because Stratos is a warrior monster, we can special summon him back to the field, and once we special summon him to the field, we can actually resolve both of its effects, but of course we have to pick one of them. So what I'm trying to say is, because we have so many hero monsters in our field, we can actually destroy a couple of our opponent's spells and trap cards up to the number of hero monsters that we control in our field. So it can be 2, 3, 4, or we can make a search from our deck, which can be something like Honest Neos, Spirit of Neos, or maybe we can even search a combo starter for the next turn. Now there's one final thing that I want to talk about this card is, this card's attribute is Earth attribute. So that means it can benefit from a couple of things. Number one, because this is the only Earth attribute monster that we control compared to our other monsters, Sunrise attack boost will improve significantly. Number two, if we decide to summon Shining Neos Wingman from our deck with the help of favorite contact, when it's summoned to the field, we can destroy cards in our opponent's field up to the number of different attributes on the field. So that means this card gives us a +1 distraction effect. Now, the final important thing is, this card is kinda immune to super polymerization, because when you think about it, most of the time your opponent will try to get rid of Dark Love, DPE, or Contrast Zero Chaos. They will just ignore this card because this is an Earth Master. And if you remember, super polymerization targets, for example, Predaplant fusions require 2 Dark Monsters from the field or 3 Dark Monsters from the field. So that's why this card is kinda ignored during those super polymerization plays. And even if we get rid of these cards, this card still defend our board. And once our opponent decides to remove this card from the field, we can actually bring back DPE or other cards that I mentioned. So that was pretty much for today. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.